Do you want more? More time, more balance, more love, more sex, more money, more real, and less bullshit? This is the Women Wanting More podcast with Dr. Karen Osborne. Real life, real stories, plus real tips to get you more of what you want.
If you only did this one thing, sister, everything would change for you. If you only did this one thing. So the conversation I had with my oldest son, Tyson, this morning, he's 7.5, almost 8. 8, actually, in like a month, a little less than a month, is that the I hate school mantra that happens every single day. But then when I go to pick him up, I'm like, how was school today, bud? Oh, it was great, Mommy, it's totally fun. You know, and I said, listen, buddy, we got to stop the I hate school because it changes the way that your morning is. You don't want to get dressed. Everybody's now late because of you, buddy. Because, yes, our actions affect other people, specifically your family. But if you simply did this one thing, buddy, because when I have a conversation, I'm like, buddy, tell me what it is. Like, are you hearing Mommy when I'm saying it's time to get dressed now? And like, I allow my kids lots of extra time knowing that, yeah, I can't just go get dressed and like now and pop out the door, right? Kids are going to move at their own pace and like, that's cool. And so we allow that extra time. I allow that extra time for them. But then it starts to allow, now it's the 10 minutes to get dressed. It's like, okay, now it's 5 minutes, now it's 2 minutes, buddy, we gotta go. And it also came down to at times, like, I'm dressing him. I'm like, Tyson, this is silly. Like, this is crazy that I'm doing this. You are a big boy. You need to get yourself dressed. It's not happening anymore that I'm doing this for you. Like, And then we've done the consequences for not doing stuff. But the thing is, you know what it is like, right? If you're a mom, it's like, you got to get your kid out the door. And so now is not the time to like talk about the consequences, the punishment, all this kind of stuff. Because like, for me, at least with my child, if I do that, it backfires. And when my main goal right now is get him out the door and in the car so we can get to school, then I'm not going to roll with that. I'm gonna actually roll with whatever is happening in the moment to do whatever needs to be done to get him out the door and in the car to school. But I shared this with him. I'm like, Tyson, I go through just one thing, because he was like, well, what it really comes down to, Mommy, is this thing. I'm like, okay, so we solved that problem. I go, what else? Like, what is it? Because Mommy wants to understand, like, what's in the way, right? That's me really having a conversation with my son. I'm saying, hey, what's in the way of you being able to get to school each day? Because something's coming up. I can't logically understand, reason, any of that kind of stuff, right? Like, what is it? He gets a little bit of iPad time in the morning. Like, you get to kind of chill with that. You've got a good hour before from the time you get up until you get to school. We had a great breakfast today. We had fun. We did a little bit of playtime. Like, what happens that suddenly everything just becomes unraveled? He said, well, really comes down to, Mommy, is I hear you, I don't want to go. And then we've talked about like, what can we do to make it more fun? And you know, is this some of the stuff with Tyson's dyslexia and, you know, challenges that he has with learning? But there's lots of work that him and I do at home, and it's like, you know, he's able to adapt, and it's getting way better. His behavior, his choices, like all of this, with a lot of the work that him and I do together, and just time. It's him kind of growing up and becoming a little bit of an older kid. And so he's like, well, that's the thing, Mommy, I don't want to go. I'm like, okay, here's the deal, buddy. Got to go to school. You know, and kind of like sidebar, you know, I've talked about and I've explored a lot, and I've done a lot of introspection about maybe I need to homeschool my kids. But like, honestly, I am not the mom to be home with my kids 24/7. I'm just not. I will lose my fucking mind. I will. I need to have time. I know who I am with this. I need to have time to create and write and have space. And I know I had someone really lovely reach out to me who's homeschooled her 4 children and said, hey, listen, like, this is the way that we did it, but I do a little bit differently this time. And, you know, I would have gotten a mother's helper so I could have a couple hours to myself each day. And I'm like, yeah, I gotta work though. Like that doesn't really, and it's like a couple hours for me, and then it'd be like I'd have to kind of be like banished to a Starbucks to kind of try to work, but then I can't do coaching calls from there, and I can't. It's like it doesn't work. I love having lots of hands-on time with my children, being there to drop them off, pick them up, swim lessons, all that kind of stuff, organize things for them, like cook, like all of that, lunches. But no, I can't be home with my kids 24/7. Nope. And perhaps when they're older, we could explore homeschool/unschool, and they're able to really do a lot of stuff on their own when they're mature enough, old enough. But right now, like, no, nope. And we've looked at alternative schools, and one that we tried and wasn't a fit. And, so there's lots of things that I'm still exploring to really help Tyson, not just to be able to learn well and do the things that he wants to. School that we have the kids in now, it's a good school. I think as far as public schools go, it's a good school. It's a smaller school. The people there they're lovely. They've known Tyson. He's been there since grade 1. Kai's going there now. It's a good public school. It just is. Is it perfect? No. Nothing in life is perfect. So when I said to Tyson, I'm like, okay, you hate school. I got that. But listen, what would happen if you simply changed, I didn't use these words, but I'm going to say this to you. You changed the story of how you see something. I said, Tyson, each day, you say it and you mean it, right? None of this bullshit affirmation of saying it and then inside your brain's going, you're a liar, right? But really saying to yourself, you know what? Today's going to be a great day at school. And I also started to introduce to Tyson, although he's at his barely 8-year-old brain. Listen, most adults that understand this is like we shape our reality with the thoughts and the way that we see the world. And so when I said to Tyson, I'm like, listen, Tyson, if you start to see that school can be fun, that there's parts of school that you love and you focus on that, everything will start to shift for you. You begin to change the story, sister. You change the conversation inside your head. You change the way you see things, and what you have in front of you changes. So I remember being at a coaching program I used to be a part of. This would have been, like June of 2016, and we had a workout that we did, and it was like a hard push kind of CrossFit-y workout, and my coach was saying some things that, like, I don't know, just began to cement inside of me. And I've been lifting weights since I've been 15. I'm 49 now. I actually stopped lifting in 2016, around that time. I stopped doing CrossFit, started doing boxing only. I'm sorry, I have no idea what that rattling sound is in my car. If you're happen to hear this during the podcast, my bad. It's probably a toy in the back. But what my coach was saying was things like this. You can do more. You got this. Like, say these things to yourself. I got this. I can do more. I can go all day. I kind of added one for myself as I'm working through a very, very tough workout. And I realized as I finished that workout, the big epiphany for me was like, oh my God, I've literally been working out for like 3 decades. Like in CrossFitting for 8 years at that time. And I'm like, and I just fight my way through. It's kind of a little bit of a thing in the CrossFit world, at least the box that I worked in is like, it's like, oh, this is like, there's lots of moaning and groaning and swearing and grunting and some of the stuff that just comes out of you when you push your body hard. But a lot of it, that is that mindset. Like you see something like, oh, dude, this is going to suck today, right? When I began to change the conversation inside my head, that I was simply thankful to have the opportunity to be at the gym, that inside my head, instead of like, oh my God, this is so hard, oh, this sucks, like, oh, this hurts kind of thing, that I began to change the story. I changed what I told myself. And instead of that, what I began to tell myself is, I can do more. I got this. I can go all day. And I literally at times that it's like, it would just be like, just the most brutal part of the workout, I would put a smile on my face. And it wasn't one of those like tight, like not really a real smile, like smiling like, oh man, like I am making my body stronger. I'm making my body faster. I have the time right now, here in this moment to do this. I'm so thankful. And everything began to shift. Everything began to shift with how I physically moved my body. my coach Rob often says to me, he's like, Karen, I so admire your work ethic, and you just push so hard. And the other day he said that to me, and he said it a bunch of times, and I appreciate it. And I just said, listen, I'm just so grateful to be here. That's really what it comes down to it. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. And so that'll be another piece of the conversation that I'll have with Tyson about this. But literally, you change the way that you see the thing, the experience, the person in front of you, it will start to change. It'll shape your reality. So we're gonna call this one, shape your reality. Let's say life and your life in front of you and the world in front of you is not static. Yes, if you begin to see people as loving, they become more loving. If you begin to see them as awesome and not focus on the things that are not so awesome, you get more awesome, right? If you start to love your body and you see it for all that it does for you, your body begins to change. And it sounds so crazy, doesn't it? You're like, wait a second, but what do you mean, Karen? Like, I'm 50 pounds overweight. Like, how does loving my body, how does that make it? I'm telling you right now, sister, you change the way that you see things, and what you see begins to change. You learn this concept of shaping your reality, and your life is how you want to create it. You will be able to ease more into the flow of life and how you're being guided by God, higher source, spirit, universe. And stop pushing so hard against everything. Just like my son Tyson, right? I just said, buddy, I can't keep doing this with you every single day. I don't like it. I don't like this interaction with you before school. I love you. All these things that I do are for you, my sweetheart. And I don't say this to my child to kind of create some kind of, to guilt him or something, but it's just like, listen, dude, these are all things that are done so that our day is like in flow, man. You learn this early on as a kid, like, you'll be crushing as an adult, man. And what a beautiful opportunity we have as parents, right, to be able to do this with our kids. And yes, it is not fucking easy. The way my son talks to me sometimes, I'm just like, dude, like, the disrespect, it stops. Like, no. And he knows that it's not a way, because he wouldn't talk to a teacher that way. He wouldn't talk to a friend that way. He wouldn't talk to the babysitter that way. Like, there's no way you need to speak to me that way, buddy. And it's tough having these conversations again and again and again and again. It's kind of like, when your kids are little, although my kids still do this at times, where it's like, for a lot of us, at least for me as a parent, manners are really important. Being polite matters. Being kind matters. Saying thank you matters. And so, each time that it was like, okay, say thank you, say please, say thank you, say please. Please and thank you, right? And how important that is. I still drill it into my kids, but it's getting better. And when I hear people say to me, not that I give a shit, like, it's not for this reason to get accolades, but when I hear people say to me, like, oh my God, your kid's like, I sat next to Kai at lunch today at school, maybe one of the parents was helping out, and he was just so polite and kind, and he shared, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, that's not always the picture, but awesome. There's pieces that are starting to kind of come together, and I'm able to do that, right, as his mother. So you can shape your reality, sister. I think the question comes down to how do you want to shape it? So here's your more tip then for you today. What are you seeing right now in your day? So kind of like my son Tyson, I hate school. Maybe it's you like, I hate work. I hate, the fight with my kids each day. I hate, or I'm sad about, or I'm angry about. Like, what is the primary, I hate my body. What is the primary, mantra? What is playing on repeat inside your head? What is the thought that you go into your day with that could simply change and shift if you chose to see things differently? And so here's what I want you to do. I want you to journal. What is the thought, the thing that you tell yourself, the way that you see something, right? So like Tyson, it was like, I hate school. Okay, cool. So that's the thing, right? So what Tyson and I'll talk about this a little bit more, because we don't have a long drive to get to school, like 10 minutes, but we're going to talk about this a little bit more of like, what are the new ways that you could begin to see this, right? And so for Tyson, it could be, you know what? I love that I get to see my friends each day at school. Or I love gym class. I love that I get to run and play outside each day. Because we live in Victoria, BC, and it's like nice pretty much year round. I love that I get to learn new things. I love the challenge. I know I'm getting better and learning better every day. Like there will be like a new script, right? A new line that I'm going to encourage Tyson tell himself, and we'll talk about it too. We should do something called power words with the kids, kind of like affirmations. And it just got to the point where like, I don't want to do them. It's like, okay, well, then we're not going to do them. And so sometimes I'll now say them to the boys instead, like, like as if they're my words to them. So, you can't force these things, right? But you can certainly start to change the way that you see. So what is the new thought? What is the new, what's the new line, right? What is the new script for you to tell yourself that will begin to shift that old thought, that old pattern, that old belief that I'm going to guess if you're choosing it, it's not serving you, right? Listen, if you're telling yourself like, man, I love my body, it's strong, it's powerful, like I'm beautiful, I'm awesome. It's not really one you want to change, right? But it's going to be one that is not serving you, and it's creating just chaos in your life each day. And then I want you for the next 7 days to tell yourself that new thing instead of the old one, and see how things really begin to change for you, sister. This seems simple, it seems silly, but I'm telling you, this can be absolutely powerful. So finishing up 2 things. Number 1, if you still want one of the few limited edition Woman Wanting More journals, head over right now, and I'm going to send it to you for free, by the way. You take care of a little bit of shipping, I do all the rest. Head over to drkarenosborn.com/free journal. And if you're not receiving the Woman Wanting More newsletter, make sure to do that right now. Head over to drkarenosborn.com/action guide, enter in your email and your name, and I will send you some amazing gifts as being part of the Woman Wanting More tribe. So I will talk to you in the next episode, sister. A life of more is just one step away from you changing the script inside your head to one that serves you every single day. I love and appreciate you.
To get the show notes of each Women Wanting More episode, including the How to Get More tip, subscribe to the newsletter at drkarenosborn.com/newsletter.